All right, good evening, East Hampton Town Board. You are live on Channel 22. We're streaming on YouTube. We are being recorded. Phone lines are open. You may begin your meeting.
Great, thank you, Matthew. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the East Hampton Town Board meeting of Thursday, October 17th, 2024. Carol, if you could please read the roll call.
Councilmember Lease. Councilmember Rogers. Present. Councilmember Calder-Piedmont.
Present.
Supervisor Burkhart.
Present. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So this evening, we have 9 public hearings. That'll be followed by our public portion and then resolutions. We have a number of people that want to speak tonight, so we ask you to kindly keep your remarks to 3 minutes. But before we get into the public hearings, we have Hugh King here to delight us.
I hope so. Thank you. I just want to announce that the Goody Garlic Witchcraft Tour will be taking off from the Gardner Mill Cottage at 5 o'clock on Saturday night. And the Gardner Mill Cottage is a Community Preservation Fund property. Okay. Wayne-Scott, do you know that there are 4 school buildings still standing in Wayne-Scott? The Wayne-Scott Chapel is a schoolhouse that came from Bridgehampton in 1908. It cost $1,500 before the Community Preservation Fund. There's also another schoolhouse on Town Line Road, basically behind the Town Line Barbecue. That's another schoolhouse from Bridgehampton. The small 1930 building is still on the schoolhouse property. It was used as offices, but now it's part of the school. And then there's the present school. Right across the street from the Wayne-Scott School is Chancey Osborne's store, which at one time, I think he was a postmaster. Well, there's another post office building still standing in Wayne-Scott. It's on Wayne-Scott's Main Street. Do you know that Wayne-Scott had a windmill at one time? The windmill came from Southampton, and it was on the hill right about where Dennis D'Andrea's property is now, and it was used as a library at times in Wayne-Scott. In 1924, the windmill was moved to Montauk by Latham Brown, and he attached a house to it. It was at Turtle Hill. 1942, the Army told him to get out. So the windmill had to be taken apart, brought back to Wayne-Scott, and it's in the Georgia Association. And when they got it into the Georgia Association, they couldn't put it back together again because part of it had rotted away, so they needed to get wood. Well, it's during the war. You're not going to be able to get wood to build something like a windmill unless you were in the Georgia Association, okay? Now, right next to the school is the cemetery. And in that cemetery, there's a woman who has on her tombstone, "I told them I was sick." And of course, what's the oldest women's organization in the town of East Hampton? The Wayne-Scott Sewing Society. And the last historic landmark I want to talk about is Dennis D'Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. You're not staying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Carol, if you could read the first meeting notice, please.
Public hearings will be held live and in person by the town board and will be available electronically by video and teleconferencing and will be televised on local TV channel 22 and available for live stream on the LTV website. The public shall be permitted to appear in person, but may also provide comments on the matter being heard by calling 351-888-6331. Any person or party wishing to be heard with respect to the foregoing may do so in person or by agent, by attorney, or by teleconference to the live meeting, or by written comment addressed to the East Hampton Town Clerk, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton. Comments may also be submitted to the town clerk by email to cbrennan@ehamptonny.gov. All comments must be received by the town clerk by the date and time of the public hearing. Please check the meeting agenda posted on the town's website for any changes and for updated information. Take notice that the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the Town Board Meeting Room, East Hampton Town Hall, 159 Panago Road, pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law and Section 64E8 of the Town Law of the State of New York on October 17th at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to consider the following: the town's acquisition for the preservation of open space, agricultural lands, historic places and property, and protection and improvement of water quality with community preservation funds of a property located at 66 Wainscott Main Street, reputedly owned by 66 Wainscott Main LLC, and consisting of approximately 30 acres of primarily vacant land with several historic structures at a cost to the town of East Hampton not to exceed $56 million, plus associated costs, survey, title, prorated tax, and recording charges. Said property being described on the Suffolk County tax map as 300, 200, 229, an amendment to the 2024 CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include said property.
Thank you, Carol. So tonight we're going to have the public hearing introduced by Hillary Osborne Malecki and Scott Wilson. Hillary, if you could join us first, please.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. My name is Hillary Osborne Malecki. I enjoy local history and have been researching the Wainscott Osbornes and the Wainscott community for many years. Our family has over a 350-year history on this land at Wainscott. I was asked to speak briefly tonight on the people who have lived here, the land, and how it was used, and to talk about one of the most painted places in East Hampton, the Wainscott Pond. This is the oldest photo we have of 66 Wainscott Main Street. It was taken in 1891. When Google did a public release of Life magazine images in 2008, there was only one picture of Wainscott, and this was it. An incredible photo of the Osborne homestead built in 1675, along with the barn, outbuildings, a haystack, cows, and ducks. This salt box home stood on the south side of Main Street, overlooking Wainscott Pond from 1675 until the 1950s. The barn has been moved and now stands at the head of Wainscott Pond. This image from 1909 shows the pond viewed from the north side of Main Street without a house in sight. Before the Osbornes' arrival in Wainscott, the indigenous people were present. It is unclear if the name Wainscott derives from the Native American term or a village named Wainscott in Kent, England. Thomas Osborne and his family immigrated to America from Ashford in Kent, England. They followed Lionel Gardner to the east end of Long Island and were the first group of English settlers here in 1648. My 7 times great-grandfather, John Osborne, after leaving his father's home overlooking the town pond in East Hampton, was renting land from the town, what is now Mulford Farm. With a growing family, he sought out a farm of his own and hence came to Wainscott. He is credited as one of the first to settle in Wainscott, receiving land from the town in 1668. He built a home and the town declared 1670 as Wainscott's official settlement date. Osbornes have been farming in Wainscott ever since and continue on different properties today. The first Osbornes were tanners. A tanning vat was found while digging the foundation of the farmhouse in 1904. The land John Osborne first settled would pass down through the Osborne family for generations, from John to Thomas to Elisha I, to Elisha II, to Elisha III, and then to Elisha III's son Thomas. The oldest images of an Osborne that we have are of Thomas Osborne and his family. Thomas, born in 1807, is shown here with his wife Adelia Sayer holding son John. They had 8 children, only 2 living till adulthood, John and Oliver. Thomas Osborne was the largest landholder in Wainscott, owning 290 acres. He raised cattle, horses, and pigs. He reportedly ran a butcher shop on West Water Street in Sag Harbor. He sold meat to the whaling ships leaving the port. He shipped pigs to Connecticut. He was also a land surveyor. After Thomas's death, his oldest son John inherited the farm. John's wife Louisa Edwards and their children are pictured here in front of the Osborne homestead, and the photographer stands to the left. John Osborne and his wife Louisa had 6 children. John was a vegetable farmer. He met his wife when she was a teacher at the Wainscott one-room schoolhouse. Sadly, John died in 1891 of tuberculosis at age 42. His wife, Louisa, built the farmhouse in 1904 to support herself by running a boarding house to serve the growing number of visitors to the East End. After Louisa's death in 1926, her nephew Raymond Osborne purchased the property. Raymond is seen here in 1932 in the farmhouse with his wife, Augusta Halsey, and children Charles, David, and Ruth. Raymond Osborne was a potato farmer. 66 Wainscott Main Street today consists of 30 acres, the farmhouse, and barn. My grandparents, Raymond and Augusta Osborne, with son David, are pictured here standing in front of the farmhouse in 1979. The barn originally stood to the east of the farmhouse. It was moved in 1927 to its current location at the head of the pond, across from the Wainscott School and the cemetery. It is an early post and beam barn that was modified into a 4-bedroom apartment on the second floor. The Civil War horses raised by Thomas Osborne were sheltered here. A hay hook is still evident in the attic. In my lifetime, the barn served as a place where my father and his brother serviced and stored their farm tractors on the first floor, and where farm workers and family members lived on the second floor. Besides farming with such close proximity to the ocean and ponds, the Osbornes were also fishermen. In May 1887, the Southside Signal reported the Osborne boys of Wainscott, John and Oliver, may well be written as the most successful cod fishermen along the south side of the island. Osbornes also were offshore whalers. Whalers brought in extra income for the farmers. Pictured here is the last whale caught off Wainscott in 1907. The thrill of catching a whale from a small boat was of interest to many, as stories of the men from this area catching whales were reported in newspapers around the country. The Osbornes also ran a dairy farm on Main Street from the 1800s up through the 1960s. My great-grandfather Oliver's business was delivering milk, cream, ice, and eggs to the summer visitors. Prior to modern refrigeration, ice from Wainscott Pond was important to the people of Wainscott. In 1890, Oliver Osborne removed 40 tons of ice from the pond. He built an ice house on its shore. Layered in sawdust and seaweed, the ice would keep through till summer, and it would be sold to summer residents and used by the family to preserve food and make homemade strawberry ice cream. In the summer of 1903, the Star reported the Hedges brothers delivered by wagon 8 tons of ice from Wainscott Pond to East Hampton customers in 1 week in July, ice 10 to 12 inches thick. Oliver's twin sons, Raymond and Leroy Osborne, went exclusively into the potato business, beginning in the late 1930s and 1940s. They are pictured here with Ernest Fields, a longtime farm worker on Osborne Farm. Raymond's son, Charles and David Osborne, continued in the potato business, running Osborne Produce with the Wainscott Whale logo on their potato bags. They retired from potato farming in the 1980s. They stopped farming potatoes on the pond field in the late 1970s and let the field turn to meadowland. Strawberries were raised on the pond field up until 1994. My grandfather, Raymond Osborne, was known for his pick-your-own strawberry patch overlooking the pond. This view is of pumpkins growing on the pond field. It is one of my favorites and looks like a painting. Wainscott Pond has served as a safe sanctuary for all types of wildlife: cormorants, turtles, plovers, great herons, great blue herons, and night herons, fish, snapping turtles, frogs, toads, and snakes. Clouds of dragonflies swirl over the pond in the summer. Overhead, the geese announce their arrival to shelter for the evening on the pond. Without the worry of man or dogs, the geese lay their eggs on nests on the ground at the edge of the pond. Ducks fly in, hawks are overhead, and occasionally an osprey and bald eagle can be seen. Deer fill the field, along with baby pheasants, meadow birds of every variety, and the occasional woodchuck. The pond is lined with cattails, wild roses, and fields filled with butterfly weed and Queen Anne's lace. For years, artists and photographers, locals and visitors alike, can't help but stop to paint or photograph the pond. Sentiments from over 150 years ago still ring true today. In 1871, journalist John Hart wrote a piece in the Sag Harbor Corrector. A prettier sight our eyes have never rested upon, this pond at noonday, its waters reflecting the noontide sun with a richness that beggars all description. The water sparkling like diamonds. He wrote, "We consider Wainscott Pond the finest in the state." Thank you.
Hillary, thank you for sharing your family's extraordinary history with this property. Scott.
Good luck, Scott.
All right, I can do it. Let's stop share for a second. Slideshow first. Here we go. How about the pretty background shot? Why don't we leave that one? That one's good. So, this is a 30-acre property located on the south side of Wainscott, Maine, and fronts on and contains a portion of Wainscott Pond. The property contains a 1904 Louisa Edwards Osborne house and a two-story barn built in 1915. It's hard to argue that the house and barn, with the age of construction and family and farming history that we just heard about from Hillary, would not be considered historic, but our standard process for landmarking status starts with an historic assessment of the structure's uses and history. We are working with a new historic consultant to help produce this report so we can best comply with the town code on landmarking this property and structures. Since the report has not been completed, we are not doing concurrent public hearings. There will be a subsequent hearing provided our audience is in support of this acquisition to consider local designation before we actually acquire the property. I've had a couple of questions in this regard, so I hope this information is helpful. And just to hammer this point, I refer to a section from Supervisor Burke Gonzalez's press release, which encapsulates our purpose and commitment well. The proposed acquisition of 66 Wainscott Main Street not only honors the historical significance of the Osborne family, but also reclaims a vital part of East Hampton's agricultural past. By acquiring this land, the town is ensuring that the story of the Osbornes, a story of resilience, adaptation, and connection to the land, will continue to resonate in the community. This initiative also serves as a reminder of the importance of preserving not just the physical landscape, but the rich history that defines the character of Wainscott. As for the property itself, it's hard to imagine a more bucolic setting. The purposes of this acquisition are for open space, agricultural lands, historic places and property, and the protection and improvement of water quality. No other property we have considered for acquisition has such a litany of purposes, all of them uniquely important to Wainscott and the broader community. All purposes eliciting a desire to roll up our sleeves and get to work restoring these structures, examining the pond for causes and solutions to its algal blooms and other issues, consideration for reintroducing some type of ag production, and of course, painting this beautiful open space landscape. The property is in the Harbor Protection Overlay District, a scenic area of statewide significance, and fronting on and containing part of Wainscott Pond. It's a significant coastal fish and wildlife habitat. The Planning Department's assessment and the CPF Advisory Board's determination both find this property to be an excellent candidate for acquisition. In deference to other speakers here to show their support, in short, this property exemplifies the criteria set forth in Town Law 64E, and I would ask the board to pass a resolution to acquire.
Thank you, Scott. So now I'll go to the list of folks that have signed up, and the first one signed up is Francis Bach, the Clerk of the Trustees. Welcome, Francis.
Thank you. Congratulations to the town board for your initiative to pursue the purchase of this property at 66 Wainscott Main Street. In the opinion of town trustees, this would be one of East Hampton's more important acquisitions in recent history. The purchase would allow, for the first time in many decades, access to, without exaggeration, the most impaired body of water within the town of East Hampton. The trustees began testing the quality of Wainscott Pond through Dr. Gobler's lab in 2015. Annual results have consistently shown the pond is impacted by harmful algal blooms. The East Hampton Town Trustees 2023 Water Quality Final Report, Dr. Gobler stated, Wainscott Pond was the most consistently impacted system, with every sample exceeding the bloom threshold and mean intensity being nearly an order of magnitude greater than the New York State DEC threshold for the toxin microcystin chronically present. To illustrate the dire strait of Wainscott Pond, consider the following. The New York State DEC recreational safety limit for blue-green algae is 25 micrograms per liter. In 2023, the average concentration for blue-green algae was 183.9 micrograms per liter. We don't have a full report for 2024, but thus far the data is consistent with the findings of the last 9 years. A recent sampling from September 11th, 2024 showed a blue-green algae concentration of 494.9 micrograms per liter. The levels have consistently remained between 400 and 500 micrograms per liter throughout the summer. As a comparison, Swan Pond and Pond Lane in Lions Head is generally at the 80 to 90 microgram per liter range, and Fort Pond in Montauk is generally 30 to 90. Lack of access to Wainscott Pond has prevented any real action to address the issues of water quality. This purchase could be the game changer. Not only will we be able to increase monitoring, but strategies can be considered to steer the pond towards a healthy ecosystem. The trustees enthusiastically support the acquisition of 66 Wainscott Main Street and look forward to collaborating with the town to reverse the state of Wainscott Pond. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Take down the photo so that LTV can have the speakers on
Yes,
screen.
ma'am.
Bill Taylor, did you want to make a comment? You would have to come to the podium. Thank you.
This is Bill Taylor, Deputy Clerk of the Town Trustees. This is a very important purchase, and I thank you very much for doing this. We really want to restore the pond to its former glory, and just as we've worked very hard on Georgia Pond to improve it greatly, I believe we can do the same thing to this. And I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, next up is Sarah Davison. Welcome, Sarah.
Good evening. A very exciting evening. I'm Sarah Davison with the Friends of Georgia Pond Foundation, and we want to express our strong support for this acquisition, an obvious CPF priority for protection, and as Scott said, it checks all the boxes. The 30 acres are wholly within the town's water protection district and largely within the 2-year groundwater travel time of Wainscott Pond. And that's significant because we know the travel time, we know the watershed, and we can use that data to address the remediation of the water quality. The management plan for the property will be very important. Considerable care and thought must be put into this plan. There's a real opportunity to begin in earnest a water quality remediation plan for Wainscott Pond. And as you've heard, it has such a long history of traditional agriculture, but more recently it's been fallow and in meadowland. But there is a legacy, there's nitrogen legacy in the soil. A grassland management program to control invasive plants and favor native biodiversity would also be appropriate. In conclusion, I'd like to thank the town board, the town staff, and Mr. and Mrs. Lauder, congratulations on saving a priceless part of our heritage.
Thank you, Sarah. Carolyn Logan Gluck. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you. Good evening, Supervisor Burke Gonzalez and members of the town board. My name is Carolyn Logan Gluck, and I'm chair of the Wayne-Scott Citizens Advisory Committee, and I speak on behalf of the committee this evening to say that we wholeheartedly endorse the town's proposed acquisition of 66 Wayne-Scott Main Street using the Community Preservation Fund. Along with the chapel, the cemetery, and the school, this property, with its breathtaking view toward the ocean, embodies the historic agrarian character of the hamlet. The 30-plus acres of open space, comprising old fields and meadow, environmentally sensitive areas, the wetlands, pond, and dunes, and historic resources, namely the Louisa E. Osborne House and barn, clearly meets the criteria for use of the CPF. Its designation as a scenic area of statewide significance in 2010 is a testament to its cultural value. Preservation of this viewshed is paramount. Acquisition of the property would also enable access to Wayne-Scott Pond, one of the two coastal ponds in Wayne-Scott, notable for its vegetation and its role as a habitat for native and migratory species. It's designated as a locally significant coastal fish and wildlife habitat in the town's local waterfront revitalization plan and lies within the Harbor Protection Overlay District, as has been mentioned. It's also one of the most seriously impaired water bodies on the East End, and acquisition of the property would finally restore public access to the pond and provide a pathway for its remediation. And a management plan has already been prepared by Dr. Gobler. It might need a little bit of updating. The WCAC acknowledges this acquisition would be the largest ever using the CPF. However, we believe the benefit to the town of East Hampton is beyond measure. And I just have to add that we show up regularly at Wayne-Scott Chapel, and never, ever does anyone exit a meeting there without pausing and having their breath caught by the absolutely exquisite beauty of the view before them. It's integral to the chapel, the whole area. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carolyn. Susan Macy. Welcome, Susan.
Good evening. I'm Susan Macy. I'm co-secretary of the Wayne-Scott Heritage Project, and I thank the board for allowing us to enter this statement into the meeting. The board of directors of Wayne-Scott Heritage Project is beyond pleased by the announcement of the proposed acquisition of 66 Wayne-Scott Main Street using community preservation funds. The town board has our unequivocal support for this purchase. Incorporated in 2021, Wayne-Scott Heritage Project seeks to preserve the history and cultural character of Wayne-Scott by protecting its historic structures and significant viewsheds. Acquisition of 66 Wayne-Scott Main Street would create the opportunity to preserve not only an incomparable viewshed, including Wayne-Scott Pond, but also important historic structures. The Louisa Edwards Osborne House of 1904, a family residence and sometimes summer boarding house, and the adjacent William S. Hedges garage, dated circa 1915, an automobile garage with living quarters on the second floor. Both structures are included in the 1990 survey of historic and architectural resources prepared for the town by Robert Hefner. The report states the property is the only parcel remaining in historic Wayne-Scott in which the dwelling is not divided from the farmland. It is key to the integrity of the district, recalling its agrarian past. The house is conceived in the vernacular of the early 20th century with a cross-gable roof and front veranda and retains its integrity. It reflects the prosperity of potato farmers at the time. Critical is the immediate designation of the property, including all structures contained within, as a local historic landmark. It more than meets the threshold laid out in the town code. It possesses special character and historic and aesthetic value as part of the cultural, economic, and social history of the town. It is identified with historic personages, namely the Osborne family, who first settled in Wainscott in 1668. The residence and garage clearly embody distinguishing characteristics of architectural styles and building types of the earliest 20th century. And because of its location just south of Wainscott Main Street, it represents an established and familiar visual feature of the neighborhood. Wainscott Heritage Project urges the town board to amend the zoning code and designate the property a historic landmark without delay so as to have the designation in place in tandem with acquisition of the property. 66 Wainscott Main Street would serve as a cornerstone in the fulfillment of our mission, the eventual establishment of a historic district. We fully commit to working with the town to help bring this about. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. So that's everyone that signed up. So now I'll take a show of hands. Jane? Welcome, Jane.
Good evening, Town Board. Jane Merringham, Amagansett resident, Ocean Lane, speaking as an individual citizen. My comments tonight support the proposed CPF acquisition of the 30-acre parcel known as 66 Wainscott Main Street for the purposes as stated in the hearing notice. I cite the parcel's unique beauty, its centrality to the character of Wainscott and East Hampton overall, the historic significance of the structures and viewshed, and the need for the restoration of Wainscott Pond on two fronts, restoration of the grossly degraded water quality, as well as restoration of public access. Every time I stand on the side of Wainscott, Maine and gaze across the meadow upon the serene and sweeping landscape, I think about the first 5 lines of a Wordsworth poem I studied in my youth. Quote, "There was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth and every common sight, to me did seem apparelled in celestial light, the glory and the freshness of a dream. Indeed, the glorious alchemy of the land, the light, the mist, the wildlife, the water, and the historic structures at 66 make for the most evocative and ethereal sight. Often this parcel really does appear to be, quote, apparelled in celestial light. Though I have gazed upon this place again and again over decades with a profound sense of joy, I'll admit in more recent years, given the construction pressure visible now all around, a nagging sense of dread had crept into my head when I visited. No matter how iconic the view, the reality has been, as long as it stayed in private control, the risk of development and degradation grew. But now, with a vote of this committed board, a stroke of the pen, and lots of cash, the looming risk is finally extinguished, the site preserved in perpetuity, and that is not only a relief, but indeed it is a fresh dream come true. For a minute now, I'd like to broaden my comments somewhat and cite the next 4 lines of the poem. Quote, "It is not now as it hath been of yore, turn wheresoever I may, but night by night or day, the things which I have seen, I now can see no more." As the stanza said, in Wainscott, as in our 4 other hamlets, wheresoever we may turn, those things that we have seen, both beloved vistas, open space, woodlands, dark skies, structures that embody the fabric of the community, increasingly, quote, we now can see no more. It's true, preserving parcels like this yield meaningful and positive impact. The town CPF plan notes, quote, "Purchases have the potential to restore the integrity of some of our important areas that have been damaged by unwise development. Move in most any direction away from 66 Wainscott, Maine, walk up and down Wainscott Hollow Road, Sayers Path, and Beach Lane, and clear becomes some of that unwise development the CPF document references." In conclusion, we celebrate today the power of the CPF and the significance of this beautiful acquisition, yet we must not overlook a broader context. While we are preserving the good, we need to be preempting the not so good, or these millions could be for naught. Preservation transactions might end with cash, But in fact, preservation more broadly begins with code. A strong land ethic and sustainability objectives must be rooted deeply in East Hampton Town land use regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Is there anyone else? Would anyone else like to address the board? Cy? And then Rick? Welcome, Cy.
Supervisor, members of the town board, thank you very much for allowing me to speak today. Cy Kinsella is my name. As the town knows, I've been very passionate about Wainscott Pond for many years. Restoration of the water quality is very important. The cyanotoxic contamination, as Francis Bock and Bill Taylor have both attested to. I'm sorry that Chris couldn't be here today to talk further about it. Wainscott Pond is without a doubt one of the most contaminated water bodies, not just in the town of East Hampton, but in arguably all Long Island. Years ago, when I was working with Chris on the pond, the only water body that was more impaired in New York State was Central Park. The next was Wainscott Pond. So I cannot endorse it enough what you're doing, and I can't thank you enough what you're doing and what the trustees have put their mind to. Not only just the water quality, but the wildlife reserve is very important. Just in the time that I've been living there, I've seen the wildlife go down, the quality of wildlife, the number of birds diving in the pond for fish. In other words, there aren't as many fish due to the anaerobic conditions of the pond, etc. And preservation of the historic neighbourhood. I think, I'm not going to repeat what everyone has said so eloquently. I think it's important to imagine what we see now, which you can, that's not hard to imagine, but to imagine what it could be down the road if we don't act now. I read in the press release that the property was bought in 2021 for $66 million. In today's money, that's worth about $75 million. If the CPF purchased it, I think it was $56 million, is that correct?
Yes.
That's a discount of nearly $20 million, or about 25%. That's a good deal in anyone's language. It's a lot of money, but it's still a good deal. And if it's a very generous deal from the Lauder family, and it preserves what the Osborne family has done so well to preserve for 350 years. But if it's not taken up, it could all be lost. In a few generations' time, it might be built out, hedges might go up, and it might all be privatised. That would be a great shame. So I fully endorse what the town board is doing and thank them all very much.
Thank you, Cy. Rick? Welcome, Rick.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the town board. Richard Whalen from Amagansett, speaking as a private citizen. I am a strong supporter of this purchase, the purchase of the former Osborne Farm property on the south side of Main Street in Wainscott. There's probably no single parcel in Wainscott to which the hamlet owes its historic and rural character as much as this particular property. As the previous speaker said, apart from just the thought perhaps of houses going there someday, merely having be owned by a private homeowner virtually ensures that there'll be hedges on the south side of Main Street. So for many reasons, historic, scenic, public access to Wainscott Pond, it's a vital purchase for the town. I just want to say a little bit about the history of it. I know Hillary Malicki Osborne Malicki spoke before me, so I'm not going to try not to restate what she said. But this property has long been associated, as I'm sure you know, with the Osborne family. They owned it continuously from the late 1600s until 1922. Louisa Edwards Osborne, who built the house on the property in 1904, sold it in 1922 to a fellow named William Sherrill Hedges. And he and his family pretty much owned it until the mid-30s and seems to have lost it then in a foreclosure. and the Osborne twins, Raymond and Leroy, who were potato farmers, bought it back from the Osborne Trust Company in 1943, and then it remained Osborne family property until, their sale to Ron Lauder in 2021. So that's an historical connection. The Osbornes, of course, were really the first family of Wainscott. So the barn, by the way, I just want to mention, I've learned this, the garage building was originally a barn. It was southeast of the house, and Cheryl Hedges in 1926 moved it to its current location, converted the downstairs, the ground floor, to a garage, which was called the Wainscott Garage, and converted the second floor to living space. The one thing I want to say about this beyond that is regarding the two buildings, and I don't know what your plans are, and I don't know how much flexibility you have, given that this land will be acquired with CPF funds, but it seems to me it would be undesirable to have those buildings unoccupied. And I would really love it. I think it would be great if you could find a way that they could be, rented out. I mean, make a deal with the Wainscott School District or something, and maybe they can make it available for, for housing for teachers or employees or something like that. But I certainly would obviously don't want to see the buildings removed. The house itself is 120 years old. The barn is over 100 years old, the garage barn. And so they should be maintained, and ideally somebody should live there. So affordable housing on a $56 million property. So I'm very strong supporter. I hope you'll go forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Prudence. Welcome, Prudence.
Thank you. I don't know who other than Scott, the mover and shaker about this is, but the gravitas of this purchase, which I sincerely hope goes through, is amazing to those of us who care so much about East Hampton history and the old families like Hillary's family and my family and others. The purchase of this property when we had assumed it was gone is almost a miracle that you were able to put this deal together. So I say, thank you. Please, please, please do it again somewhere else. Because, am I right? I mean, do it again. There are properties all over this town that are just as historic, just as meaningful, just as much loved, where the view is just as striking, that could be saved. And, I had assumed, through the years when the property was sold that it was gone. And it's not. It's retrieved. So I can't even imagine the amount of money you spent on it. I can't fathom that kind of money. But I know that Fred Thiel has done us a wonderful favor over the years, over and over and over again, and the money is there. So let's save some of these properties. It gives me hope in times when things are kind of rough in the Bonnet area, as you know. It gives me the feeling that you can make magic happen if you find the right property and the right situation. Even though it's bought and sold, you can figure it out. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Prudence. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? I'm going to go to the phones now. Matthew, is there anyone on the line?
Yes, we have two callers on the line.
Great.
All right, caller number ending in 3763, you're live.
Thank you. This is Brad Brooks from Springs. I'm calling about a handful of issues tonight. The first one is the roundabout that's been proposed for Stephen Ann's Path.
I'm sorry, Brad, this is a public hearing. It sounds like you want to speak during the public portion.
A board meeting?
So,
okay,
yeah,
is that
so we
later
have
or is that Tuesdays?
Yeah, it's tonight. We have 9 public hearings. This is the first public hearing. Once we wrap up those, then we'll go to public portion and Matthew can put you through.
Well, you know what? Maybe I'll just, the simple thing is, I have a handful of topics. I'll just send you guys an email. Hopefully a few of you people on the board can respond to a couple of my concerns. That'd be great.
Okay,
Thanks.
certainly. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the next caller through, and we also just got another caller on the line. All right, caller, number 4813, you're live.
Thank you. Good evening. This is Jose Arandia from Wainscott, and I just wanted to provide support for the purchase of 66 Wainscott Main Street. It is an incredible piece of property that reflects the history of the area, and it's a beautiful scene as you look out towards the ocean. So I strongly support the purchase of this property, and I thank the board for considering it. That's all.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Jose.
Okay, we have another caller. Go ahead, caller number ending 7487. You're live.
Good evening. This is Pamela and Michael Mahoney in Wainscott, and we just wanted to call and let you know how thrilled we are about the potential purchase of this property, and we wholeheartedly endorse it. It's a gorgeous piece of property. And I photograph it all the time as well, so I really understand the people that come and paint and photograph and just enjoy driving by. It's a wonderful, wonderful situation, and thank you very much for considering it.
Thank you, Pam. So, Matthew, is that it for the phones?
That is it for the phones. May I also comment?
Sure.
Raymond Matthew Sharon. I just want to say how excited I am as well. I just, echo what everyone said. I've been going to a gathering there for almost the last 10 years on Sunday mornings, and this year I started taking a photograph each morning, hoping that throughout the end of the year I'll have, a photo of about 7:45 a.m. through the year, and it's just a stunning place. It's incredibly beautiful. The wildlife, there's been bald eagles out there, the geese that come through there, and then also the juxtaposition of the Osborne's homes there and their dogs and chickens, and it's just an amazing little slice of East Hampton, and I just applaud you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. I think that's a first for me.
Now we know you're Raymond Matthew, too.
Okay, one more time. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Do I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. I don't know if everybody wants to stay for the rest of the meeting, or we could take a brief minute for folks to file out.
And feedback from LTV.
I think the phone line might still be open.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Yeah, I just muted them. Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries. We're just going to give it a minute while folks file out, okay, Matthew?
Okay.
More to come.
Shocking. Is it going to...
All right, Carol, if you want to read the next meeting notice, please.
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York and the provisions of the East Hampton Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the Town Hall Meeting Room, 159 Panago Road, on Thursday, October 17th at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to hear comments of all persons wishing to be heard concerning the grant of the requested first-time home buyer down payment assistance. The applicant is Jessica Deline Weber and David Weber, and the down payment assistance amount requested is $30,000.
Thank you. No one has signed up for this. Is there any?
Hi.
Come address the board. Welcome.
Thank you for your time and consideration. This is such a big deal for us. Yes,
put your
thank
name
you so
for the
much.
record, please.
My name is David Weber, and I'm the applicant for this grant. And I just wanted to take time to show my appreciation for your time and consideration for my family for this first-time homebuyer grant. It will mean the world to us. As you know, it's very tough purchasing a home in East Hampton as a first-time homebuyer. So we are excited. We started the process of purchasing the house before the program was available. So we are kind of delaying the closing. And it's been such a privilege to work with Joanne Pilgrim on this. And it's such an exciting program for first-time homebuyers. So I don't know if you have any questions or anything, but I just wanted to say thank you for your
Thank you, David,
consideration.
for coming down tonight.
Thank you.
Okay,
Motion to close?
Second.
is there anyone on the line? Matthew?
No, only a caller that commented earlier.
Okay. So I have a motion to close.
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. You could read the third hearing notice, please, Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you. Becky, could you ask them to be a little quiet out there? I'm worried the microphone won't pick up.
It's hard for me to hear, Carol.
Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing on Thursday, October 17th at 6 p.m. or as soon after this matter may be heard at East Hampton Town Hall, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, to hear any and all persons on the following budget modifications to the Community Development Block Grant Budget to allocate funds from completed projects to current and future projects in the Community Development Budget. It's from CDBG 8662-54053-80-21, 2021 East Hampton HA solar panels to CDBG 8662-54053-8521, 2021 EHHA generator in the amount of $59.80. And it's from CDBG 86768586995719 2019 EH Food Pantry to CDBG 86765866566319 2019 Maureen's Haven in the amount of $5,000. The total requested budget modification is $5,059.80.
Thank you, Carol. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board on this matter? Matthew, is there anyone on the line?
Just that same caller. No one knew. I don't know if we should check in with them.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
The caller, we're just checking to see if you have any comments.
Doesn't sound very promising.
Yeah, it sounds like they're just maybe still just on the line.
Second, all in favor? Hey, Carol, if you could read the fourth meeting notice, please.
Please take notice that the town board hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held on Thursday, October 17th at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard at East Hampton Town Hall, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, to hear any and all persons either for or against adoption of a local law entitled "A Local Law to Override the Tax Levy Limit Established by and Set Forth in General Municipal Law, Section 3C."
Thank you, Carol. Becky, did you want to do an introduction to this, please?
Good evening, Supervisor, members of the Town Board. My name is Becky Hansen. I'm the Town Administrator. After three work session presentations of the 2025 tentative budget, it has been presented to the public that the budget is proposed to pierce the tax cap. So in light of tonight's hearing, I'll just do a brief overview of the tax cap legislation itself and then where we are with the 2025 budget. The tax cap legislation limits the increase in the amount of property taxes that are levied by a municipality to the lower of either 2% or the rate of inflation. It first applied to fiscal years beginning in 2012, as it was signed as Chapter 97 of the laws of 2011, and applies to all school districts and local governments excluding New York City. Special district budgets within the town also count towards the town's tax cap levy calculation. There are a handful of exclusions that can help the tax levy, which includes larger year-to-year increases in a municipality's pension contribution when those increases are larger than 2%, or pilot payments that a municipality receives from a utility. A municipality can override the tax levy with the adoption of a local law and a subsequent vote of 60% of the municipality's voting board. The local law must be adopted prior to the town budget being adopted. In September, State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli announced that the tax levy would be limited to 2% from the current fiscal year. For the town of East Hampton, that means the town could only increase the tax levy by only $2.1 million. The tentative 2025 budget proposes to increase taxes by just over $5.5 million for the four major town funds. The overall 2025 budget has a proposed spending total of $103,722,303. While the town has spent a great deal of effort to keep the tax implications to a minimum for taxpayers, the reality is that due to rising costs, the town must pierce the cap. The budget has been developed using an appropriate amount of fund balance and careful review of all revenues and all the funds. As proposed, the adopted 2024 budget versus the proposed 25 budget alone has salary increases at over $1.9 million. Benefits that include such things as retirement and health insurance, dental and optical, those costs are proposed to increase over $3.7 million. After the hearing tonight, the board can adopt the local law to override the tax cap at the November 7th meeting. At that same meeting is when the town board will have a public hearing on the proposed 2025 budget. I don't know if anyone has any questions or.
Thank you, Becky. Do we have anyone here that would like to address the board? David Buda. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Supervisor and members of the Town Council, which is the proper way to refer to you guys, not just as the amalgamated town board. I'll be very brief. The specifics of the budget I'll be discussing hopefully in November if I'm available. I just want to say that I'm going to say what's on everyone's mind, that we live in inflationary times. Budgets are going up and up and up. The need to exceed the cap perhaps is unavoidable at this point in time because of your commitments that you made last year with respect to contracts and because of factors beyond your control that have affected the higher increases, substantial increases in health insurance costs and pension costs. But an effort has to be made to bring this spiral to an end. Otherwise, all of our economy is going to suffer greatly in the future. It just can't become the norm to grossly exceed the tax cap, whether it be the schools, the county, or the towns, without having dire consequences for the populace who constitute the taxpayers, the property taxpayers. So I'm going to ask you, not something that you can do tonight, but you need to make perhaps a stronger effort towards controlling those things that are within your control and trying to influence those things from going out of control that you can provide your influence. I'm referring specifically, this past year, the state adopted a step back from the reforms of pension, and that's impacting your budget this year. The change in the Tier 6 employee calculation of their pensions has changed, and it's adding a tremendous amount of additional cost to you. Health insurance, I know you're trying to find alternatives to the existing healthcare options, but something has to be done because we simply cannot sustain this continual spiral and what I hope will not become now an annual event, the piercing of the tax cap. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Matthew, is there anyone on the line that would like to address the board on this matter?
We have no callers on the line.
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carol, if you could please read the 5th meeting notice.
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York and the provisions of the East Hampton Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the Town Hall Meeting Room, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, on Thursday, October 17th at 6 p.m. or soon thereafter, as this matter may be heard concerning the filing and grant of scenic and conservation easement to the Town of East Hampton. The grantors Frank Mesh and Jacqueline Leibovich to scenic and conservation easement dated August 5th at 303 Two Holes of Water Road, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-157-1, 3.5, and the reviewing agency is the ZBA.
Thank you, Carol. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board? Anyone on the line, Matthew?
We have no callers.
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carol, if you could please read the 6th meeting notice.
Please take notice.
Pardon me. Bob, would it be appropriate to put a motion to combine public hearings number 6 and 9, each one separate?
Yeah, we have to do them
Well, it's worth a
separately.
shot at.
Thank you.
We tried.
I say this in my sleep. Please take notice that pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York and the provisions of the East Hampton Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the Town Hall Meeting Room, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, on Thursday, October 17th at 6 p.m. or soon thereafter, as this matter may be heard concerning the following grant of scenic and conservation easement to the Town of East Hampton. The grantors Daniel and Pernilla Amon. Type of easement is scenic and conservation, dated September 20th, Sammy's Beach Road, Suffolk County Tax Map 356-240. Reviewing agency is the ZBA.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone here? Matthew, anyone on the line?
We have no callers on the line.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carol, if you could read the 7th meeting notice, please.
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York and the provisions of the East Hampton Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the Town Hall Meeting Room, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, Thursday, October 17th at 6 p.m. or sooner thereafter, as this matter may be heard concerning the filing grant of scenic and conservation easement to the Town of East Hampton. The grantors Daniel and Pernilla Ammon. Scenic and Conservation, September 20th, 33, 35, 37, Sammy's Beach Road, Suffolk County Tax Map 356-1, 11, 12, 14.2. The reviewing agency is the ZBA.
Thank you, Carol. Any takers? No. Matthew?
No callers.
Motion to close?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carol, if you could please read the 8th meeting notice, please.
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York and the provisions of the East Hampton Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the Town Hall Meeting Room, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, Thursday, October 17th at 6 p.m. or soon thereafter, as this matter may be heard concerning the filing grant of scenic and conservation easement to the Town of East Hampton. The grantor is Daniel and Pernilla Ammon. Scenic and conservation easement dated September 20th at Sammy's Beach Road, Suffolk County Tax Map 356-238, and the reviewing agency is the ZBA.
Anyone here? Anyone on the line?
No callers on the line.
Close.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Carol, if you could please read the last meeting notice, please.
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York and the provisions of the East Hampton Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the Town Hall Meeting Room, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, on Thursday, October 17th at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard concerning the following grant of scenic and conservation easement to the Town of East Hampton. The grantor is Pernilla Almond. It's scenic and conservation dated September 20th at Sammy's Beach Road, Suffolk County Tax Map 356-239, and the reviewing agency is the ZBA.
Anyone here? Anyone on the line, Matthew?
No callers on the line.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So now we're up to public portion. David?
Good evening again, Madam Supervisor and Town Council. Resolution 2024-1328, which appears as the last item on tonight's agenda, under the heading of being an additional resolution after deadline, if adopted, would purport to adopt a proposed local law amending town code. This is not working here. Let's see if we can fix that. Okay, there we go. Would purport to adopt a proposed local law amending Town Code Chapter 182 to remove the 2-acre Sherrill Triangle property located between 3 Mile Harbor Road and Springs Fireplace Road from the list of town parcels designated as town nature preserves. Furthermore, the resolution as it appears on your agenda, and I've read it very carefully, would purport to have this proposed local law take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. As I stated at the public hearing held on August the 15th, this proposed enactment of a local law is highly premature and at this point in time is highly contrary to the provisions of the town code. What would be more appropriate instead would be to only take the one additional step of the 4 steps that are spelled out as being required by Town Code Section 182-14B, which lists the 4 separate procedures that each must be complied with before any town-owned nature preserve land may be conveyed, leased, exchanged, or otherwise disposed of. Required procedure 1 is to hold a public hearing to allow public comment on the proposed disposal of the nature preserve property. That step was done on August 15th. Required procedure 2, following the public hearing is held, is that the town board must pass a resolution, not a local law, that makes a finding of an imperative and an unavoidable public necessity requiring the proposed disposal of the nature preserve property. That legislative finding is indeed included several times in the proposed resolution, but making that finding of fact alone is as far as the town board is permitted and required and able to do it tonight. Required procedure 3 is to submit the proposed disposition of the Sherrill Triangle property to a mandatory public referendum. On July 18th, you adopted a resolution creating that ballot proposition to be submitted to the County Board of Elections for inclusion on this November 5th general election ballot. Let me reiterate, you simply may not tonight adopt a local law removing the Sherrill Triangle property from the town nature preserve until after obtaining an affirmative majority vote of the public on November 5th. Required procedure 4 is to comply with all other local, state, and federal laws that may apply regarding the vestiture of the subject property. Most significantly, this means satisfying the common law rule, which requires an act of the state legislature to sell or divest parkland to other uses. Yes, the legislature passed and the governor signed into law as Chapter 194 of this year, an act authorizing the town to alienate and convey the Sherrill Triangle used as parkland for the purpose of a Suffolk County roadway improvement project. However, the green light, this is step 4, the green light that the state has given to the town aspiration for a massive new traffic roundabout has a major, perhaps fatal flaw in it. Chapter 194 states in Section 2 that the authorization provided in Section 1 of this act shall be effective only upon the condition that the town of East Hampton acquire and dedicate the lands described in Section 4 of this act as parklands, which is Section 4 of the act specifically describes 16 Swamp Road in East Hampton. Provided, and this is the crucial point, provided that the town of East Hampton has never used such lands for public open space or park purposes. The lands described in Section 4 of the act is 16 Swamp Road in the East Hampton hamlet. But 16 Swamp Road cannot possibly be the land, the substitute parkland, that satisfies the requirements of Chapter 194 for the following reasons. That land was voted to be acquired in August 2022. The clearly stated purpose of the 2022 action was the preservation of open space. The deed to the town for 16 Swamp Road was recorded in September 2023 after all structures had been removed. The parkland alienation legislation became law on July 3rd, 2024. By the date the law was enacted, the town had already been the owner of 16 Swamp Road for nearly a year, and it was already being used for public open space. Therefore, it cannot qualify to satisfy the requirements of the act. Lastly, and I don't know why no one has picked up on this, the money used for the purchase of 16 Swamp Road was CPF money. That's not town general funds. That's restricted, you all know. That's restricted town funds. That's money that's already designated and required to be spent for limited restricted purposes such as preserving open space at historic places, and you spent a lot of it, or you are about to spend a lot of it if you adopt tonight's purchase of the Wainscott property. It must be town general funds. Prior town boards have recognized that distinction, have clearly used town general funds when there was an anticipated swap of land with a county in Montauk that hasn't come to pass so far as I know. This does not constitute a town purchase of substitute parkland as required by the act if you use CPF restricted funds as opposed to general town funds. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Matthew, is there anyone on the line?
We have no callers on the line.
So now we're going to move on to resolutions.
It's a pleasure of mine to offer Resolution 2024-1282. This is for the warrant number 10B, the approval of claims in the amount of $3,208,528.29, and the utility warrant 10B in the amount of $35,935.40.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 1283 is a notice of public hearing. This is for the Water Quality Grant Award for our Round 2 of 2024 to DNR Family Realty Group LLC. The project is an installation of IA sanitary system to upgrade an existing septic system. The total fund award will be $70,038, and the public hearing on this will be held on, November 2nd, 2024. November 7th, 2024.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. 1284 is a notice of public hearing for a water quality grant for round 2 for 2024 to the Longhouse Reserve for an IA upgrade. Again, the summary, this is installation of innovative alternative sanitary system to upgrade the existing septic system. And the funding award proposed is $151,240. Again, this public hearing will be held on November 7th, 2024.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. 1285 is a notice of public hearing for water quality grant for a grant award for round 2 for 2024 to the Driftwood Apartment Corp. This is for an IA upgrade. Again, the summary is an installation of innovative alternative sanitary system to upgrade the existing sanitary system. The project type is a wastewater treatment improvement, and then the funding award is $200,000. Again, this public hearing would also be held on November 7th, 2024.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. 1286 is the notice of public hearing for a water quality grant award for round 2 for 2024 to the Peconic Land Trust. The summary is a design and installation of a multi-stage permeable reactive barrier to reduce nitrogen and PFAS inputs into Talmadge Creek, Georgia Pond on Georgia Pond Preserve. Again, the funding award requested is $521,235, and again, the public hearing will be held on November 7th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1287 is a resolution to set the 2024 scallop opening date. Again, whereas this is 2024 regarding the delayed opening of the scallop season for town waters until November 10th, 2024, as we can do periodically through resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 1288 is to approve the East Hampton Volunteer Ocean Rescue member as an active rescue swimmer for September 2024, retroactive to September 1st, 2024. This would be for James Rigby.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 1289 is to appoint full-time laborer in the Highway Department, Zachary Dam, an hourly rate of $23.98, grade 15 starting step, which is annually $49,888.18 for a 40-hour work week, effective October 21st, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1290 is the termination of seasonal recreational employees for 2024. Names, positions, and dates listed below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 1291 is a termination of seasonal park employees for 2024. And again, for names, positions, and dates listed below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 1292 is approved change order for the Terry King IA system. There's a change order requested for the IA upgrade to the comfort station. This change order is the total amount of $7,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 1293 is a budget modification for the joint fuel facility, where we're bringing from budget line for insurance in the amount of $3,000 to the budget line for equipment rental and maintenance in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have Resolution 1294, and this is a notice of public hearing for a grant of scenic and conservation easement at 60 South Forest Street, Montauk. The town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing on November 21st at 6 p.m. to hear all comments concerning the following grant of scenic and conservation easement. It's Shauna P. Noski and Grant Noski. It's a scenic and conservation easement dated August 5th, 2024. It's located at 60 South Forest Street, Montauk. Tax map number 328-8-32.1. Reviewing agency is the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1295 is also a notice of public hearing for a grant of a scenic and conservation easement at 257 Girard Drive in Springs. The town board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, November 21st at 6 p.m. concerning the following grant of a scenic and conservation easement to the town. The grantor is Reckler Moore, 2001 Living Trust, and Aaron Moore and Brenna Moore. It's dated August 17th, 2024. The location is 257 Girard Drive, Springs. Tax map 300-42-02-1932. And the reviewing agency is the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1296 is a notice of public hearing for a grant of scenic and conservation easement at 43 Mile Hill and LLC, and this says the town board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, November 21st at 6 p.m. to hear comments concerning the following grant of scenic and conservation easement. The grantor is 43 Mile Hill LLC. The date is August 6, 2024. Location is 43 Mile Hill Road, East Hampton. Tax map number 300-72-01-02. Zoning, the reviewing agency is the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1297 is notice of public hearing to amend Chapter 255 zoning, Chapters 255-120, 255-1110, 255-1123, 255-1167, 255-1172, 255-1174, and Chapter 102, building construction. A public hearing is scheduled to be held on a local law amending Chapter 255 zoning of the East Hampton Town Code in order to amend the sections I already mentioned. The hearing will be held in the main meeting room on Thursday, November 7th, 2024 at 6 p.m. To hear comments on the proposed local law, which reads as follows. A local law providing the amendment of the chapters I already mentioned. The Town Board of the Town of East Hampton finds that it has become necessary to assess, review, and recommend changes to 255 of the Town of East Hampton Code to ensure that it is compliant with the town's comprehensive plan, including the various plans and studies which were undertaken after the comprehensive plan's adoption in 2005. The intent of this amendment is to ensure that 255 of the East Hampton Town Code adheres to the findings, goals, and recommendations of the comprehensive plan. The full list of proposed amendments are below.
Second.
All in favor?
Hold on. I suggest that you change the publication date to the 24th.
Okey doke. I would like to make one change, and that is the publication date of the notice should be October 24th, 2024.
Second as amended.
All in favor?
Aye. Next is Resolution 1298. This is a SECRA determination to classify action, assume role of lead agency, and adopt a negative declaration pursuant to SECRA for the proposed amendments to Chapter 255 zoning and Chapter 102 building construction. Whereas the town board is considering a proposed local law to amend sections of 255 zoning, whereas pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Act, the Planning Department of the Town of East Hampton has prepared a short form environmental assessment form, EAF Part 1, considering the proposed zoning code amendments, and whereas the EAF has identified the proposed zoning code amendments as an unlisted action pursuant to CEQA and the regulating provisions of Chapter 6 of New York State CCR Part 617, and whereas the town board has identified no other involved agencies and shall act as lead agency and proceed in an uncoordinated review. The full documents for the EAF are on the town's website.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 1299 is a provisional appointment and promotion to environmental analyst Morgan Slater. This is resolved that Morgan Slater is hereby promoted on a provisional basis to the full-time position of environmental analyst in the planning department at the hourly rate of $36, grade 28, step 3, $74,527.86 annually for a 40-hour work week. This is retroactive to September 9th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 1300 is provisional appointment and promotion to senior planner for Daniel Gross. Resolved that Daniel Gross is hereby promoted on a provisional basis to the full-time position of senior planner in the planning department at an hourly rate of $34, grade 28, starting step, which is $70,509.71 annually. This is retroactive to October 4th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have Resolution 1301, this is determination of seasonal lifeguards for 2024. Names, positions, and termination dates listed below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 1302 is to approve SECRA and land use training. And this is Daniel Rozo, Esquire of the firm Whiteman, Osterman and Hanna, LLP, and Peter Farrow of AKRF have agreed to provide a series of SECRA and land use training programs for the town's appointed land use boards, Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Architectural Review Board, planning staff, town attorneys, and town board members. And whereas Mr. Russo and Farrow have agreed to provide these presentations for a fixed fee of $6,000, inclusive of travel expense, be it resolved, the town board retains Dan Ruzzo and Peter Farrow for land use training programs for the appointed boards for a flat fee of $6,000, inclusive of travel expenses. Resolved that the presentation may be counted towards the planning board and zoning board's required training. Further resolved that the refreshments and other items to be purchased shall not exceed $1,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 1303 is to modify agreement with NYPA, whereas the New York Power Authority offers a web-based energy management program, which provides virtual audit to analyze data relating to energy costs, which will result in energy efficient recommendations, resulting in energy savings opportunities, whereas the town entered into agreement with NYPA via Resolution 1523, whereas the town has received an invoice for the amount of the second half of 2023 that was not paid, be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to increase the budget for the agreement with New York Power Authority at a cost not to exceed $5,465.50 for a total increase of $67.90.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Resolution 1304 is to authorize a license agreement with the Wayne Scott Heritage Project, whereas the Wayne Scott Heritage Project has requested a license agreement with the town commencing on October 21st, 2024 and expiring December 31st, 2027 to permit it to store the now dismantled and created, in quotes, little house in a trailer located at 159 Panago Road, East Hampton. And whereas the town of East Hampton is supportive of the license agreement for the Wayne Scott Heritage Project, resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to execute a license agreement for the term stated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1305 is approval for reimbursement of special events cleanup deposits for 2024. And these cleanup deposits, whereas the applicant submitted a cleanup deposit and each has been approved by the Special Events Committee, resolved the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a refund check to the following applicant: Event Power, Chris Fund, Mighty Man Triathlon for $750.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Resolution 1306 is to issue a special event permit refund. The following individuals submitted a special event application to receive a permit for a residential event of the town's Special Events Committee, whereas said individuals have requested a refund of fees for the reason for which the town clerk Special Events Committee have deemed proper. Resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a refund check to the name and address of the person listed below in the amount of $250.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1307 is to accept security and undertaking for O'Dwyer and Smith, and whereas to ensure timely construction of roads and drainage within the urban renewal area, the plan requires owners of individual building lots to perform a predetermined amount of road work at the time of the building permit and is sought for the lot. The town engineer and planning board have now assigned the parcels listed below specific work to be accomplished. So resolve that whereas the listed undertaking security have been reviewed by council to the planning board and approved, resolve that the following security is hereby accepted by the town board. That's from Ronan O'Dwyer and Mark Smith, 6 Scan Road, East Hampton, New York. Map 499, block 21, lots 23 through 28, and part of RD, urban renewal parcel 102 and SP-2-1, tax map 300-82-2-1802 in the amount of $16,500.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Resolution 1308 is a budget modification for the Adjudication Bureau. This is to increase subcontractors' costs in the amount of $8,000 and increase administrative adjudication funds in the amount of $8,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1309 is a budget modification for the planning department, and this is to increase safety inspection fees in the amount of $150,000 and increase outside professional in the amount of $150,000. This is from budget line, full-time salaries in the amount of $100,000 and that goes to outside professional in the amount of $100,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1310 is to amend building permit fee schedule. That was done by Resolution 2024-680 to add updated certificate of occupancy fee, whereas the building department fees were amended in May 2024, and the town board wishes to add an additional fee to the fee schedule for updated certificate of occupant applications. Therefore be it resolved that the following fee shall be used by the building department, and the only change is the $600 line for the updated certificate of occupancy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1311 is the approval of various special events for October 2024. First is the Tyler Project, the Tyler Valsich Memorial Car Show at the Amagansett Fire Department, Amagansett, retroactive to and including Sunday, October 13th, 2024, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Also the Tyler Project, Tyler Valsich Memorial Car Cruise route starting at Amagansett Fire Department, ending at Montauk Lighthouse. This is retroactive to Sunday, October 13th, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. And for Lottie's birthday party, the Arts at Duck Creek, 117 Squaw Road, on Saturday, October 26th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1312 is approval for reimbursement of special events cleanup deposits for 2024, and this would go to the Montauk Artists Association in the amount of $1,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 1313, this is a list appointment and promotion to network and systems technician for Natanya Ashley with an hourly rate of $32.70, which is $68,019.12 annually for a 40-hour work week, effective October 10th, 2024.
Second. I apologize.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 1314 is a budget modification for the fire marshal. This will increase the budget line for fire inspection fees in the amount of $40,800 and increase the expenditure budget line for uniforms in the amount of $4,200 and for telephones in the amount of $600.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 1315 to approve CDBG budget modifications. This moves from the money from the East Hampton Housing Authority solar panels to East Hampton Housing Authority generator in the amount of $59.80. And it moves funds from the 2019 East Hampton Food Pantry to the 2019 Maureen's Haven in the amount of $5,000 for a total budget modification of $5,059.80.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 1316, this is to authorize the repurchase of affordable housing home. The property is located at 57 Barnes Avenue in East Hampton. The total cost to the town is $287,055 plus closing costs, with a life estate on the premises to the seller.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 1317, this is notice to bidders, EH 24-042, printing of town clerk permits. The bid of it will be available on October 17th, 2024, and due on October 31st, 2024. Specifications are available at the purchasing department office beginning on October 17th. Each proposal must be submitted in a sealed envelope clearly marked printing of town clerk permits, bid number EH 24-042. Bids shall be received by the senior purchasing agent by 3 p.m. on October 31st, at which time they will be opened and publicly read aloud.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 1318, this is to approve first-time homebuyer assistance. Weber. The applicants are Jessica Deline Weber and David Weber. Down payment assistance requested is $30,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2024-1319 is a notice of public hearing for the 2025 preliminary budget. The public hearing will be held on November 7th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
2024-1320 is to authorize payment to Kate Nicolai, and this is for an outstanding past due invoice in the amount of $125.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1321 is a budget modification for the A Fund. We're going to increase the revenue budget line for parking fees in the amount of $14,470, and we're going to increase expenditure budget lines for 5 lines, including the Montauk Nutrition Center, in the amount of $10,000 due to the high cost of food items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1322 is a stipulation of settlement in a personnel matter.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1323, I would like to withdraw this as the East Hampton Historical Society may have found another storage option.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
1324 is to amend Resolution 2024-394, retirement and terminal leave for Detective Arthur Scalzo. Detective Scalzo's actual retirement date will now be December 21st, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1325 is to reimburse the court system secure pass fee for Nicholas Cortesitas, Assistant Town Attorney, in the amount of $66.99.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1326 is to accept the resignation of part-time police officer Mark Testa, effective retroactive to August 19th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1327 is the termination of part-time East Hampton Town Police Department employees for 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll offer Resolution 2024-1328. This is adopt a local law amending Chapter 182 to remove property from the town's nature preserve.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Any, just?
Rob, do you want to weigh in?
Sure. So I think what's getting lost here is that the local law tonight is just simply removing the property from the nature preserve. I think what was missed earlier was that 182-14B of the town code says that property owned by the town and dedicated under this chapter to the nature preserve shall not be conveyed, leased, exchanged, or otherwise disposed of without each of the following procedures, which Mr. Buder read earlier. Tonight, we're just removing that property from a nature preserve. It's not being conveyed, leased, or disposed of otherwise until after the mandatory referendum. So that's the only thing that's occurring this evening.
I seconded.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
And that is the resolutions for this evening. There's any other topics board members want to bring up?
Nope.
Okay, so do I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.